As Dragon Ball Super concludes and the Tournament of Power now over, we've had the privilege in witnessing over 80 fighters from 8 different universes, spanning from different backgrounds, races, and levels enter the Omni Tournament to wage the greatest war in all of Dragon Ball. But which characters were the MVPs and highlights of the battle? On today's video, we will be taking a look at the most valuable and reliable warriors in the Tournament of Power, and further analyzing, breaking down, and dissecting their contributions in the tournament that made them that much more important to their team. So strap on in and hold on to your Dragon Balls, because we are going to be diving into the MVPs of the Tournament of Power next. If you are new to this channel and enjoy what you see, then don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to receive new and daily content on your mobile devices, desktops, and services that I provide, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. The Tournament of Power was unquestionably the most action-packed event ever showcased in the world of Dragon Ball, introducing new fighters with amazing skills and abilities that made an impact on the battlefield. But which one of these fighters was the most valuable in their performance during the Tournament of Power? As the number one obvious choice in being the MVP of the Tournament of Power goes to Dr. Rota in his ability to, I don't even know what his ability is. The obvious choice here goes to Android 17 in being not only the key star for Universe 7, but also being the most reliable fighter when it came to Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Android 18, Tenshinhan, Muten Roshi, and Krillin being stuck in sticky situations. One of many examples of Android 17's amazing performance in the Tournament of Power was his ability to not only maneuver in such a way in spotting opponents such as Gamisaurus and Daemon, and pointing out the obvious in his ability to not only spot warriors that our current heroes weren't able to detect, but also coming in clutch against warriors that even supersede 17 in power, that being Hakaishin, Toppo, and Jiren. From the get-go of this tournament, Android 17 not only displayed his raw feats and his ability to maintain energy, but also having an infinite supply, in which made him that much more durable during the fight. For an android that essentially runs on infinite energy, someone like that can come in handy, as we saw in the beginning with his ability to hand Goku energy for the Genki Dama. Although of course Goku's Spirit Bomb failed in his attempts to stop Jiren, Android 17 nonetheless was still there to protect Goku even after he was down and out, by saving him against the Universe 2 warriors, and being able to spot out and detect Gamisaurus and Daemon and putting an end to them, and also having the ability to not only go up against Anilaza, but being able to crack his generator by going through Anilaza's attack, pinpointing his weakness and further exposing his flaws, allowing his team to gain the victory. But it wasn't just working with his team that garnered him as the MVP, but also saving his sister against Universe 2's Brienne, coming in clutch against Hakaishin Toppo, even by the very end after having to blow himself up via Jiren's attack, and being able to not only supply Frieza and Goku with enough time for them to stop Jiren, but also being the last one remaining in the ring with enough energy to spare, and being the MVP in surviving the Tournament of Power. If anything, Android 17 was the most reliable source on the team, as not only Android 17 was the one that did the most work, but he was also one of the main components, if not the main component, in being a team player when they were in dire or desperate situations, i.e. Goku, his sister Android 18, Frieza against Jiren, and many others. And for that, I personally think that even though Android 17 may have been the odds-on favorite in being eliminated early, he still came in clutch in not only fighting fighters that were fodder in comparison, but also going toe-to-toe against warriors that were significantly more powerful than he was, and still being able to hold his own and coming in clutch and still delivering damage, even if it wasn't on a massive scale, still enough to damage his opponent and creating an opening for his teammates to come in and capitalize on the battle damage. So in the end, without question, Android 17 ranks as the number one most valuable player and reliable teammate within the Tournament of Power. However, aside from Android 17, there were other people that were involved that were also hailed as being MVPs, another which comes from Universe 7, that being Prince Vegeta. Now what's unique about Vegeta Vegeta is his ability to stand up even after facing the overwhelming odds that were Jiren, in being significantly inferior in terms of power, but still having enough willpower to continue the fight even after he was beaten down, broken, with absolutely nothing left. Vegeta also was the MVP in coming in clutch and having to not only defeat Hakaishin Toppo, who is relatively powerful in terms of nature while Goku was fighting off against Jiren, but also coming in clutch in saving Android 17 against Hakaishin Toppo, in handing off energy to Goku at the very end and supplying him with enough force to stand up and continuing his fight with Jiren, but also seeing Vegeta's resiliency against such overwhelming odds in his ability to not only fight for his own, but also working with Son Goku for the very first time and fighting together in their attempts of stopping the overwhelmingly powerful Jiren. Now, what made Vegeta stand out more as a fighter was his ability to not only transcend Super Saiyan Blue and unlocking Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Evolution, but also his ability in using the final explosion and being strong enough to survive in the end and still continuing his fight against Jiren. But having to put power aside, it was Vegeta's development as a person in the end that stuck out the most after realizing the overwhelming amount of odds that were stacked up in front of him and coming to the understanding after fighting Jiren that his body is beginning to break. Even at the very end, Vegeta was acknowledged by Jiren in being a very prideful warrior that despite having to be broken down and beaten, still being able to continue even while having nothing left. Vegeta came to the understanding that he was a fool in the end for thinking that he was able to defeat such a person, but in the end still tried rather than having to fall without a fight. And even prior having to speak to Universe 6's Kaba and making the promise that he wanted to bring back Universe 6, thus further showing us Vegeta's selflessness in his ability to not only try to gain the Dragon Balls for himself, but also making a wish in his ability if winning the Tournament of Power, in making the wish in doing something that did not involve his own personal gain or satisfaction. It was his ability in placing all of his power in the form of the Final Flash in his attempts to stop Jiren, but even after having nothing left, breaking through his own limits, achieving something that nobody else had done prior, aside from Ultra Instinct Goku and hit, and being able to land a hit on Jiren, but after having to come to the realization that Jiren was exponentially more powerful, Vegeta still continued to push forward in his ability to break beyond his own limitations. So hands down, Vegeta goes in the history books as also being a very valuable player and asset to Universe 7, but Vegeta and Android 17 aren't the only MVPs from Universe 7, as another MVP that comes from Universe 7 is none other than the newly resurrected Emperor of the Universe, that being Frieza. Now, people were expecting, alongside myself, for Frieza to turn his back on his own team, considering Frieza is the only villain a part of the team who considerably and most notably hates everybody who's on his team, had problems with everyone on his team, and was essentially killed by the very main person that led Universe number 7 and started the tournament to begin with, that being Goku. Frieza, in the end, to all of our shock, put his differences aside and not only coming in clutch and being able to provide energy to Goku in saving him from the outcome of his battle against Jiren, but also being able to assist Goku and assist his other comrades such as Gohan during his battle against Dispo, and being able to provide elite support even after Frieza had realized that the odds have been stacked against him in his battle against Hakaishin Toppo, and of course Jiren multiple times, especially in the end. If it were not for Frieza, Goku would have eventually have been wrung out by Jiren and thus leaving Frieza and 17 by themselves, and if it were not for Frieza, Goku would have been wrung out multiple times during this battle, the first having to be during episode 110, once Goku was down and out with essentially no energy left, and sparing him energy during episode 111, and coming in clutch against Toppo during his battle against 17 before transforming into Hakaishin Toppo, and even being there during the aftermath of Jiren having to get the best of Vegeta, 17, and Goku, and kicking Jiren behind his head in his attempts to stop him, which eventually led to Frieza having to be knocked out on the floor before having to come in clutch once again in the end and force blasting Goku back onto a pile of rocks and saving him from being eliminated. But also what's remarkable is seeing Frieza put his differences aside for the first time and having to fight side by side with Goku at the end in their attempts of wringing out the strongest mortal in the Tournament of Power and having to double eliminate Jiren, having to take Goku down with him. For the first time ever, if you were to ask anybody 10 or 20 years ago if Frieza were to team up with Goku and having to battle against the common enemy, you would be labeled as a fanboy or someone crazy or someone who had absolutely absolutely no idea in what it was that you were talking about. However, on this day in 2018, we saw Frieza for the first time lay his differences aside, assisting Android 17, helping Goku multiple times, even fighting alongside with him, and being one half of the direct result in Universe 7 winning the Tournament of Power. Not only that, but unlike Vegeta during episode 109, Frieza was also there to give Goku energy for the Genki Dama while Vegeta refused. And that's character development. Even by the end, having to play along and being nice, having to be granted the gift of life by Beerus courtesy of Whis, Frieza definitely served his purpose in being one of the top MVPs of the Tournament of Power. But of course, alongside 17, Vegeta, and Frieza, another unquestionable MVP of this tournament goes to Jiren. Now, a lot of people may look at Jiren in being Shonen's typical overpowered character, but Jiren was able to do what not many other characters were able to do during the time of his presence, and that being the sole person in beating down Goku multiple times, beating down Vegeta multiple times, and causing the elimination of top tier characters such as Hit and such as many others, in his ability to not only gain stronger during the course of battle, but also preserving his powers against Ultra Instinct Goku and being able to fight on par with him, even to the point where Goku mastered Ultra Instinct. Jiren had enough power hidden within him to fully go blow for blow with Goku during that time, and actually being able to land punches on a mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. And if that doesn't tell you how impressive he is in actually being able to physically touch a mastered UI Goku, then I don't know what does. Although his character during the beginning was very stale in Toriyama's approach in not giving Jiren any lines, and having to make him out to be a cool, calm, and collected character with not much character development going into the show, despite having to be overly confident and overly arrogant in his abilities, Jiren was humbled. But it wasn't only having to be humbled by trust and friendship, but also seeing that by the end, he was the only one left fighting for his universe, whereas his teammates tried and all failed. In reality, even though Jiren tried and failed in the end, he still succeeded in beating down each individual one by one, and not only having to go one-on-one against Super Saiyan Blues, but also being able to fight two Super Saiyan Blues, one of which being Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Evolution, and of course Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20, and still being able to outblitz them. And then going as far as not just fighting Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken and Super Saiyan God Evolution, but also throwing in Android 17 in the mix, which at times pit him up against three characters, three significantly powerful characters at once with absolutely no problem. Even throwing in Frieza in the mix, Jiren had absolutely no problem in being able to handle each individual character by himself. But it also wasn't solely due to Jiren's performance during the course of battle, but also seeing how durable he was in not only being able to push back and survive the Genki Dama, but also being able to survive multiple Kamehamehas, multiple Final Flashes, countless energy attacks by Android 17, countless energy attacks by Goku, Frieza, Vegeta, and 17, but not only that, his ability to also break through Hit's time skip and also breaking through Hit's time cage. So it goes without question that Jiren will go down in the history books as being one of the most valuable and reliable assets for Universe number 11, and of course for the Tournament of Power, as last but not least, one of the final MVPs of the Tournament of Power goes to Goku. Despite having to be beaten down, despite having to continuously try in his efforts of stopping Jiren, despite having to be beaten down, broken, with essentially no energy left, despite the odds having to be stacked against them, Goku still continuously pushed in the end, in which once more resulted in one half of him and Frieza having to be the end result of winning the Tournament of Power by working together with Frieza in wringing out the most powerful mortal there. Goku, unlike anybody else, was up against the most powerful person in the Tournament of Power, as being the only one essentially that had the power to stop him, with that being Ultra Instinct, in his ability in realizing that Jiren wasn't only able to go blow for blow with Ultra Instinct, but despite Goku having to be at a disadvantage, he still made an attempt in trying, even though the odds were stacked against him. Also going up against Kale, Caulifla, and of course their fusion of Kefla, who once again was exponentially more powerful than essentially anybody else that Goku had fought before prior to Jiren, in his ability to continuously push forward even after the odds were stacked against him. It goes without question that these warriors were the highlights of the Tournament of Power, and I wish I could say the same about characters like Muten Roshi, who was also a very important asset to his team, but I wish we had other characters such as Gohan, Piccolo, Kaba, and various others have the spotlight these 5 individuals were hands down the MVPs of the Tournament of Power. But in the end, let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Who do you guys believe was the top tier MVP of the Tournament of Power? What is your top 5 MVP list? And what do you guys think about the list we have created here today? Thank you all so very much for watching. Once again, if you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button, turn on all notifications by clicking on that bell icon. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Cue my outro, bitch.